This story takes place when I was a young teenager. In 2010, my family and I moved into our house that our cousin used to own. We live at the end of a dirt road. All of our neighbors are family. Right up the road is my other cousin, who was my age, so we were good friends. We used to hang out all the time, and I have many horror stories with her and with things I've experienced on my own. The neighbor's house I will be referring to is in this story, is our closest neighbor, and they are also my cousins. So, whenever I walk to my cousin's house, whose name I will refer to as L, I'd have to pass my neighbors to go see L. One night I was walking home from L's house, and as I got to my neighbor's house, I stopped dead in my tracks. They have a set of glass doors right out front of their house, but they always had the blinds down. They were never raised, but this time the blinds were raised and the lights were on. But this was late at night, and no other lights in the house were on. The people who lived there is my grandma's cousin and her youngest son, who is about 15 years older than me. But what I saw scared me so intensely I couldn't move. I saw a young girl with long black hair and a white gown, her back to me as she played the piano. I had never seen her before, and no new cars were in the yard. After standing there outside watching this girl play the piano, the song playing loudly enough to hear outside, my heart was racing, and then I quickly ran the rest of the way home, which wasn't very far. The second I got home, I texted Elle and told her what I saw, and within minutes we agreed to meet right outside by my neighbor's house so she could see the scary sight. It just took a few minutes for both of us to make it to my neighbor's, and by the time we did, there was no song, no lights, and the blinds were once again pulled all the way down. My cousin and I were even more freaked out, and after some talking, we went home. The next day, we asked our family if they saw the girl come or knew who she was, and they said there was no one girl who fit that description, but she was dead, and she died while she was locked in a mental institution before we were even born. I wasn't close enough to my neighbors as I am now, so years went by with that mystery. Only recently as an adult did I ask them about the night, and they never had a girl there like that ever. And not only that, the piano hasn't worked in years. They felt just as freaked out as I was. They felt just as freaked out as I was when I told them that I saw the girl, and to this day I have never seen her again, but the memory of that time will never go away. What seemed like an innocent sight of a young girl playing the piano was really something unseemly. After playing her song, she vanished and wasn't seen again, at least not by me. Hello all, hope you're doing well today. Last night was one of the scariest experiences of my life. Here's the story. I left around 8 p.m. to go to a smoke shop. The sun was setting faster than I had expected. This particular shop is near a bike trail that I like to take home. So, I got my stuff from the shop and began my walk home. I get onto the bike trail, and it's more or less pitch black outside, besides the street shop lights bleeding in from the street. About 10 minutes down the trail, these two men, almost completely in the dark, look at me. I look back at them. One man says, "Hey, brother." I then respond with, "Hey, man." The same man then says, "I've got a question for you," and begins to walk toward me assertively. I walk away, not running as to raise suspicion. I hear careful footsteps behind. I continue my walking pace but pick it up a bit. Once I'm pretty sure I've made some distance, I look over my shoulder. I see two flashlights dash into the brush, seemingly trying not to be seen. I take the first path that leads into the neighborhood. I managed to get away, but there was a chemical smell in the air that one of my Discord friends suggested was crack due to the rubber-like odor. In closing, don't go into a dimly lit area at night. This was a few years ago, so I will post it as if I, a female 23 years old, I was leaving my apartment on a Thursday night at 11 p.m. I was on my way to pick up my boyfriend from work downtown in a large city. I left out the back exit to the alley I parked in and saw a car with its lights on up to the right of me. This was not out of the usual, as security stayed in this spot on slow nights, since there is a 24-hour store on the other side, and we were located in the back alley. I got into my car, and the car I had seen blocked me in. At first, I was incredibly confused as a man got out of the car. He then gestures to a gun in his pocket. Here's where people could say I could have done so many things, like a horror movie where you know better, but they walk towards danger. I froze. All I could do was say, no. I locked my doors. I could have hit the panic button, but I chose not to. I could have driven into him, pinning him to his car. All I could say was, no. Somehow, after what felt like an hour, the man leaves. Mind you, the complex is built in a U shape around our parking lot. If I had made a commotion, people would have come. He simply drove to the next spot over and parked. I sped off and called 911. I said, I think I just got held up at gunpoint. I was still in shock and never actually saw the gun. They took my claim with a grain of salt and said they would have extra patrol in my area. All I knew is it was a green four-door car and a white man with a beard. I picked up my boyfriend and we came home. Now, a week later is where it takes a turn. I usually picked up weed every Thursday, and I hadn't the previous week. When I called this week, they informed me that I could not have friends call and order in my name. They let me know that a man had given my full name, date of birth, and home address to the only place I ordered from at my usual time. The store explained that a Middle Eastern man with no beard accepted my delivery. I asked when this was, and they said around 11 p.m. the previous Thursday, right in front of my apartment. I first asked who the driver was, because I knew them all, then explained my situation and asked for the number they had called. I was able to talk to the driver, who explained to me that a different vehicle and man had picked up my $10 order in front of the building. I then reverse searched the number and found the man who had held up my car. I found him on Facebook. He worked at a Walmart 30 minutes away. His Facebook was riddled with photos of automatic rifles. I called the police and explained all of this. They did nothing. I'm 15 years old and I live with my family. I'm usually home alone due to the fact that my family is always at work. When this first started, I was home alone like normal and showering while listening to music. My sister was supposed to come home early, so when I heard knocks on the bathroom door, I thought it must be her. I said, "Yeah, what happened?" No reply. I was a bit confused but thought she just knocked and simply walked away until the second knock. I turned my music volume down to hear if she had anything to say. I didn't hear anything and I started to get irritated. A few minutes later, it wasn't even a knock anymore, just slamming at my door. I put my volume all the way down because I thought my sister didn't like my music. I finished my shower quickly and stormed out to ask her what the hell her problem was. I walked around the house and I was home alone. She got home 2 hours later. I asked her if she got home 2 hours ago, and she said no and asked me why I was asking. I never told her why, because I didn't want to scare her. Also, I told my friends about it, and they said that in total, there was 3 knocks, so it must have been a ghost. I have no idea. What do you guys think? So, it was a normal day in the mid-1970s. My father and grandfather would travel 20 kilometers walking over train tracks daily. They actually needed to travel from one station to another, which are 20 kilometers apart for work, but usually it was a mere railway section, so only one train ran throughout the day, one up and one down on their journey. My father and grandfather had to catch the train in time to arrive to work on time. So the day it occurred, the train was announced to be delayed, so they started walking over the train tracks following the route over to the next station. Almost arriving the next station, suddenly my father and grandfather saw a woman in a white dress covering her face, just moving a meter forward, and a meter again, and again, like moving forward by a meter, standing there for a second, then moving backwards. It was a completely strange and bizarre encounter for them. During that time, the place was heavily populated with goons and thieves, who even carried weapons and shot people at random. Every 2 to 3 days, there were news of thieves or goons shooting people, so a woman in a railway track between nowhere was very strange to see. They thought she might have lost her way, or may have some mental health issue. The place this encounter happened was very near to the next station, around 2 kilometers away. They thought she might be from the next town over, so they decided to look into the matter. They started approaching her and were 50 meters away when they heard the horn of the train, which sounded near, so they got off the tracks, and that time the woman was standing 20 meters away. The train actually came close and kept honking the horn for the woman who was still there to move, but she kept doing this weird front and back swaying motion. My father and grandfather thought that she would move hearing the train and that she might have a mental problem, but before that, it was too late. The woman was cut down by the train right in front of them. They were both frightened and afraid of what just happened, so they ran towards the next train station. My father ran forward and said he remembered grandfather following him running, but as he reached the next station, grandfather seemed to be missing. Many things and efforts were put to find him, but still to this date my grandfather is missing. We believe that the woman was a demon or ghost who was hit by the train before and was wandering the place of her death just to take another soul. Thank you guys for watching and listening to the end. If you want your true scary story featured on an upcoming video, send it to my email in the description box below. Until we meet again, stay sinful.